Welcome to Recaply X, your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists. In minutes, our movie begins with Luis, a father living in Spain with his rebellious son Fran, who has many issues with him because Fran is a failed young man who doesn't listen, is rude, and very violent in his interactions. He constantly fights with his father, is addicted to cigarettes and alcohol, and always blames his father for his mother leaving the house when he was young. Fran spends the entire night talking loudly with his friends, to the extent that Luis cannot sleep, even though he has work early every day. Luis tries repeatedly to connect with his son and improve their relationship, telling him that he needs to take on more responsibility to secure his future. But Fran doesn't care about his father's words or the pressure from others. He spends most of his time with his friends, Miguel and Nuria. Nuria is the first girl Fran had a relationship with, but after they got close and Nuria started developing genuine feelings, Fran suddenly pulled away, telling her they were just friends and that their relationship wasn't serious or real. Luis becomes increasingly stressed because of his son, especially when he starts receiving calls at work about the problems Fran is causing. One call comes from Fran's school, asking him to attend a meeting to discuss Fran's repeated absences from classes. A few days later, Luis gets a call from the hospital after Fran and Miguel got into a big fight. When Luis goes to pick up his son, he meets Miguel's parents, who demand that Luis control his son's behavior, especially since Fran's influence has become harmful to his friends. Luis, unaffected by what happened, tells his son he will start taking him to work with him. Fran refuses, and when Luis tries to force him downstairs to talk, Fran punches his father in the face and runs away. Fran's destructive behavior continues to escalate. On his 17th birthday, he steals money from his father, drinks whiskey from the house, and goes out to celebrate with his friends. He's having a good time until he sees Nuria, his ex, with someone else, which deeply upsets him. Meanwhile, Luis is sitting alone at home, feeling sad, with the birthday cake he bought to celebrate with his son. After blowing out the candles alone, he feels he can no longer endure the situation. After extensive online research, he finds a place called CIMC, a rehabilitation center specializing in dealing with troubled teenagers whose parents can't control them. He watches several videos of parents sharing their experiences with the center, describing how their children, some of whom had even physically assaulted them like Fran did, were transformed by the center into responsible individuals. Luis stops watching the videos when Fran comes home, visibly upset. Fran enters his father's room to talk, but changes his mind and goes to bed as usual. The next day, Luis visits the center and attends a lecture about how the center helps teenagers and educates parents on the importance of family and the dangers of poor parenting. Meanwhile, Fran is home alone and receives a call from Miguel, who tells him he can no longer hang out with him because his parents forbid their friendship after what happened. Miguel is forced to say this, and Fran becomes furious, yelling at Miguel for abandoning him before hanging up. He then calls Nuria, but instead of opening up about what happened, he yells at her too for being in a relationship with someone else. Nuria reminds him that it was he who rejected the idea of a serious relationship between them. Fran has no response and hangs up on her. That night, Luis makes the final decision to take Fran to the center. Two staff members arrive at night to take Fran away. Fran screams and begs his father for help, but Luis tells him it's for his own good. Fran is taken to the center, where Oscar, the director, welcomes him. Fran tries to provoke everyone, but Oscar doesn't tolerate it and reprimands him, stating that no violence, mistakes, or insults are allowed, and everyone must act respectfully or face consequences. Oscar showed him surveillance footage of Fran being filmed attacking a guard, explaining that Fran needed to be disciplined for his actions. Luis was told he needed to respect the punishment rules, which included not seeing his son for a period. Luis left the center, respecting its rules. Later, Oscar went to the boys and found them joking and laughing while watching an educational video. This angered Oscar, so he decided to punish them in a new way. He took them to an open area, locked them in a cage wearing only their undergarments, blindfolded them, and tied their hands behind their backs. He told them they were not allowed to sit or sleep, and anyone who fell to the ground would face punishment. The last one standing would earn the chance to leave the center. Slowly, the boys began falling one by one. When someone touched the ground, they were taken to another room. The remaining boys were left unprotected from the cold, and their food was given as a form of punishment, with some being denied food altogether. The last one to fail to eat was punished and moved to another room. At night, the psychologist was the one filming the boys in the cage. While she was recording, Nando caught her and handed her over to Oscar. She confessed that she intended to post the videos online to expose what was happening in the center. Oscar called her foolish, saying their treatment of the boys was exactly what the parents wanted to discipline their children. He told her she had failed in her mission. After some time, all the boys in the cage fell except Fran, who was the last one standing and declared the winner. He returned to the daily routine, becoming quiet and withdrawn like the rest of the boys. Luis continued attending the psychological support sessions, unaware of what was happening to his son. He began facing legal issues because he had sent Fran to the institution without his mother's consent. Even though she had been absent for years, her name was still on official documents, requiring her approval. Luis needed to take full legal steps to make decisions for his son independently. Meanwhile, Sandra opened her computer and found the punishment videos posted by the psychologist. This prompted her to go to the balcony to end her suffering by committing suicide after everything she had witnessed and endured at the center. The videos posted online caused the center's owner to confront Oscar, ordering him to maintain stricter discipline in the facility. From that point on, Oscar became harsher with the boys, slamming them into walls for the slightest mistakes and sending them to the punishment room more frequently. Fran objected to what was happening, which led to even harsher punishment for him. He was transferred to the isolation room he had discovered weeks earlier, tied in the same manner as the boy he had seen. This punishment left Fran blindfolded and silent. Over time, Fran became completely subdued, showing no reaction to anything. One day, during the free day when the boys were allowed to dance in a large courtyard, the other boys saw Fran in his subdued state. One of them stopped dancing as a sign of rebellion, mimicking what Fran had done before. This enraged Oscar, who rushed to beat the boy and shouted at the others not to follow suit. On the same day, Luis's psychological support group held a party. Luis attended, but was deeply affected by the news of Sandra's death. He decided to leave the party without speaking to anyone, consumed by thoughts of his son. Eventually, he resolved to go to the center to take his son out. When he arrived, he saw his son in front of him. He believes the state he appeared in, and when asked about what happened to his son, he tells Nando that he was the one who appeared doing this. Luis takes his son out of the final center and takes him with him, but Fran remains silent the whole way. Luis tries again to get closer to his son, but he can't, to the point where he stays in the same room as him. Fran starts removing everything hanging in his room and all the decorations, so he can't rebuild and stay in the same state he was in. Fran began removing everything hanging in his room and all the decorations so he couldn't bear their presence. Sometimes he would stick his head out of the window and scream. Luis tries to bring gifts for his son, like a new phone, but Fran refuses to take it and returns everything to his dad, even the water bottle he gave him, because what he experienced in the center can't be forgotten with a few gifts. One day, while they were both cooking, Fran finally starts screaming and talking to his father, telling him that he was the one who sent him to the center and did this to him. Luis tells him he didn't know what was happening and that he made a big mistake. Everything he did was aimed at making Fran a better person. He thought the center was a real solution, but unfortunately, he didn't know about the harsh things happening inside. If he had known, he would never have sent him there. Luis starts crying as he explains to Fran how much he loves him, which makes Fran cry as well. After some time, Luis goes to his ex-wife to get the papers that will give him full custody of Fran. As soon as Luis gets the papers, he gets in his car, stops in the middle of the road, and gets out in the rain until he calms down. He follows Fran, feeling sorry for him, and hugs him. After some time, Luis and Fran appear at the beach on vacation, and their relationship has greatly improved. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.